that want to get to know each other and introduce yourselves visually to us, that would be awesome.
All right, so let's get started here. So first and foremost, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here and welcome to the Faculty of Kinesiology. We're so happy to have you with us. Kinesiology is a really special community at U of C, and we're just so happy to have more of you joining us in your first year. So we're going to get through the presentation here. I'm going to start by just moving through the presentation. And so my name's Erin. I'm one of the academic advisors, and Jody is here as well. She's our team lead in academic advising. So I'm going to go through the presentation, and Jody's going to monitor the chat and make sure everyone's getting into the webinar. And I'm going to share with you here through the chat a worksheet. So if it helps you to follow along in the presentation by taking notes and filling in blanks, then this might be helpful for you. If not, don't worry about it. You're going to learn all the information in the presentation anyway. Let me just get this going here. So you should be able to click and download that PDF from the chat, and it's fillable, so you can fill it in on your computer. So it's super easy. All right, moving right along. So first and foremost, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising of the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. So on our agenda today, it's all about registration. So registration is coming up first week of May, so we still have a few weeks to go. But just to prepare you, we just want to go through some of the basics, like what's the registration terminology, how do you choose courses, how do you know what you're supposed to take in first year, how to actually register using the system, and how to get help if you're having trouble. So we'll go through all of that today. So first is registration terminology. So the first thing you want to know is your enrollment appointment. An enrollment appointment is the exact date and time that you can begin registering for your fall and winter courses. And you'll find your enrollment appointment on your student center, just like it's shown in the screenshot here. It'll tell you the exact date and time. So this example here shows us March 27th at 11 a.m. And you can see down below, we have a breakdown of which groups of students register when. So you belong to the first year student category, and you'll be registering beginning May 5th. So your appointment date will be somewhere between May 5th and May 7th. Transfer students, if you're a transfer student, you may have already registered because your registration date was April 5th. And for continuing students, which means second, third, fourth year students, they've already registered. They registered back March 22nd. So that's why we have enrollment appointments posted like that, is because everything's a little bit staggered. Oops. All right, so I'm going to talk a bit about the terminology around different types of requisites and restrictions. The two most prominent ones you'll come across are course restrictions and prerequisites. Those are the top two here. So with course restrictions, most of our courses are, or many of our courses have seats saved for particular student groups. So restrictions will tell you who can register for the course and when. And if you cannot register right now, it'll tell you when you can start registering. Restrictions are a temporary measure just to make sure that students get the courses that they need for their degree. So I'm going to use an example here. For example, let's think of biology 241, 243, really common, popular first year biology course. This course is required for biology majors and some other faculty of science majors, but it's not required for any of our kinesiology majors. So for that reason, you won't be able to register for biology right away. If you look at the course restriction, you'll find a date that tells you when the course is expected to open up to you. So when you're planning courses into your degree, if it's not a kinesiology course, you might just want to take a closer look and see if there's a course restriction, and if so, when you can begin to register. The next one is prerequisite, and prerequisite is different from a course restriction. A course restriction is temporary, again, but a prerequisite is permanent. So this is a course that you have to have completed before you enroll in the next course. If a course is specified as a prerequisite, that means you have to achieve a passing grade in it before you can take the next course. And a passing grade would be a C- or higher. And prerequisites are always listed in the course descriptions when you're registering in your student center, and they're also listed in the academic calendar. So you'll see all that information when you go to pick and choose your classes. An anti-requisite is a little more uncommon, but you'll still come across these. Courses, this means courses, like you can't take two of a course that has overlapping content. So an example would be if you're taking anatomy and physiology for your kinesiology degree, you cannot then also take a course in biology that covers physiology topics, because the content is too similar and you're not allowed to take the same course twice, essentially. So that's what an anti-requisite is. And then co-requisite is, it's referring to two courses that can be or must be taken at the same time, because the content is complementary and helps between the two courses. Okay, this terminology is referring to course components. So most of the courses that you select will have a lecture. Usually the lecture is like the main instructional component of a course, where your instructors and your professors are introducing work through the topics of the course. Sometimes they will be accompanied by a lab, sometimes they'll be accompanied by a tutorial, sometimes they won't have either of those, and sometimes they'll have all three. So you'll see all of this information pop up when you go to choose classes. If there is a lab or a tutorial associated with a lecture, it will make you choose one. So it's actually not possible to forget adding the lab or forget adding the tutorial. It'll all show up in the schedule builder, which we'll get to in a little bit. Oh, I haven't really described what the lab and the tutorial are, so let's go through that. So a lab is more of like a hands-on kind of experiential opportunity to apply what you're learning in your lectures. And the class size of the lab is often a lot smaller. So it's a great opportunity to get to know your classmates a little bit better, your teaching assistants, you can ask them more questions and form study groups and stuff like that. Similar would be a tutorial. Tutorials are, again, another opportunity to ask questions, work with others, discuss the course and the reading material, and again, just receive some additional assistance from whoever your teaching assistant is. Okay, next we have our different course delivery options. Now this terminology is a little more new because of the way things have moved online due to COVID-19. I should mention, we don't know for sure exactly how courses are going to be delivered this fall and winter just yet. We will be expecting an announcement from the president later this month with some more information about that. So keep that in mind. A lot of the courses are scheduled right now for best case scenario, and best case scenario is that we're back on campus. So when you look at your courses, you may see that there is a physical location associated with it, but that could change. So just keep that in mind. Just wanted to mention that briefly. But the big words here to focus on are synchronous and asynchronous. So a synchronous course is a course that is scheduled at a specific time, and it means that you have to participate or engage at the specific scheduled time. Whereas asynchronous, the second one there, or the third rather, is a component that is not scheduled. So often it'll be like a pre-recorded lecture that you can log in and watch that video at any time, whatever works for your schedule, and just engage with the course at whatever time is convenient for you. So that's the difference between synchronous and asynchronous. And it'll say this in the course description when you're looking at it, whether it's synchronous or asynchronous. It'll also show up on the timetable schedule through Schedule Builder. So you can see if it shows up in your weekly schedule, then it's obviously got a time associated with it. But if it doesn't show up anywhere, then it's asynchronous and can be used at any time or attended at any time. And then the last one there is blended. And that's just exactly what it sounds like. It's a combination of synchronous and asynchronous. The first one at the top there, multi-term courses. You're probably not going to come across a lot of these in your first year, but it's possible, so we'll talk about it. A multi-term course is usually a 6-credit term or 6-credit course that runs over both fall and winter. And so it's usually split into A and B. So for example, let's say you were taking a course called Kines 200A in the fall and Kines 200B in the winter. That's what a multi-term course is. We don't really have any first-year multi-term courses in Kines, but there is a chance that you could come across one in your options. So it's just some important terminology to keep in mind. All right, so when it comes to actually registering, there's some more key terms here to know. So we've got add, drop, swap, edit, and withdraw. So add a course to your schedule, just like it sounds. Drop, you completely remove it, so it's no longer in your schedule. It won't show up on your transcript, it's gone. And swap is a trade. So if you're using the system to trade one course for another, you use the swap function. Swap is really handy because it saves your seat in the course that you're in until the system can successfully put you in the next course. So that way it's not risky. You're not dropping a course only to find out, ooh, I can't get the one I wanted, and now I have to go back and add the old one, and oh no, I've lost my seat. Swap is just the easier way to do it. Edit means that you're changing just a subcomponent. So maybe just the lab or the tutorial, but you're keeping the lecture the same. And that one, again, is another function through your student center. It's just meant to be like a bit of a safeguard so that you don't lose your seat in the course, but it allows you to make some changes. And then the last one here is withdraw. Withdrawal refers to a drop that occurs after the drop deadline. So every semester has a drop deadline where you're allowed to drop courses with no financial penalty up until that point. As well, the course won't show up on your transcript as long as you drop it by the drop deadline. If you drop the course after the drop deadline, leading all the way up until the last day of classes, anytime during the term, it would be considered a withdrawal, and it would show up on your transcript as a W, which just means you withdrew from the course and decided not to finish it, and the W has no grade associated with it and will not positively or negatively affect your GPA. And if you're ever considering a withdrawal, that's why we're here. We would like you to come chat with us a little bit about why you want to withdraw, and just to make sure that we're all on the same page and you're making the right choice. Waitlists are a really handy tool to utilize. If a course is full, but there's space on the waitlist, then we encourage people to do that. Waitlists, it's just an automatic function so that if somebody else drops out, the system will automatically enroll the next person on the list. And it just makes it a lot easier than checking the system regularly to wait for a spot to open up. Not all courses have waitlists. Often if a course has a lecture and a lab, or a lecture and a tutorial, or all three components, you might find that it does not have a wait list just because it gets a little more complicated. But if it's just a lecture, usually there will be a wait list associated with it. Okay, so when it comes to actually choosing your fall and winter courses, this is the fun part. So what courses do you take in your first year of kinesiology? Well, there's this thing called the first year degree guide, which you have probably come across if you've started looking into registration. The first year degree guide is a website on the UFC website where you just type in your major and it'll tell you exactly what courses are recommended for fall and winter. The key is that it's recommended. They're not 100% required. You can deviate a little bit from that list depending on what your needs are, but check in with us if that's the case. We strongly recommend taking Kines 201, 259, 260 in your first year, regardless of your situation, just because these are really key prerequisites for senior Kines classes. So it's just really important that you do get these ones in your first year. The other ones, we can chat about that if your situation warrants a different schedule. The courses in your first year will vary slightly by different majors, right? So we have biomechanics, we have kinesiology general major, we have exercise and health physiology, we have mind sciences, and we have leadership. So depending on your major, you may have slightly different first year courses from somebody in a different major, but there's a lot of common courses that you'll all be in. And 259, 260, 201 is an example of one of those that pretty much everyone takes in their first year. When it comes to registering in Kines 259 and 260, students must select lecture 1. This is the lecture that we have saved for kinesiology students. You will notice that there is a lecture 2 that's listed at a different time, but that one's for non-kinesiology students, and you won't actually be able to register for that one. So make sure you select lecture 1. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, bright and early at 8 a.m. Next, Kines 201 and 203. And by the way, I'm just picking a couple examples here. You'll see more courses on your first year degree guide of what to take. These are just some of the kind of big important ones. So Kines 201 and 203, those can be taken in either order. We get that question sometimes, do I have to have 201 before I take 203? No, you can take 203 in the fall and 201 in the winter if you want. Both do require full participation in activities. So they're both activity courses. If you want to take them both in the same term, sure, you absolutely can, but we normally recommend splitting them up just because they're both activity-based. So nice to have one in each semester. And the typical course load for kinesiology students is anywhere between 3 and 5 courses per term. 3 is considered the minimum to be full-time. So full-time is full-time just means that you'll be eligible for things like loans. Some scholarships require you to be full-time. When we're on campus, there's a bus pass that all full-time students get. Health and dental is available to full-time students. So if you rely on any of these things and you are thinking of only studying as part-time, maybe just come chat with us to see what the impacts of that would be. 5 is the maximum number of courses allowed per term. So if you want to be full speed ahead, then it would be 5 courses in the fall and 5 courses in winter. If you're not really sure what course load feels right for you, we recommend registering in 5 courses per term. Attend your first week of lectures in the fall. And if your schedule just feels like way too jam-packed and you don't think you have enough time, or you're volunteering on the side and you got a job and you think you'd be better with 4 courses, then that's fine. You can drop one of the 5 as long as it's done before the drop deadline, so you don't have to pay for the course. A couple majors here have some extra instructions to follow. So biomechanics majors, you have to take courses in engineering and math, and those courses need special permission. So we're going to send you some email information about how to gain access to your engineering and math classes. And then if you're in the combined Bachelor of Kinesiology and Bachelor of Arts in Dance, you'll need to contact the dance faculty at that email address listed there to get access to Dance 331 in your first year. So this is kind of a screenshot just to show you what the first year degree guide looks like. This is an example for the kinesiology general major. So if you're in exercise and health physiology or biomechanics or a different major, your list again, is going to look a little bit different, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like. And the address is listed up here, but there's tons of links that have been provided to you by email from the registrar's office and on the registrar's website that'll take you to this. So don't worry about writing this down. You'll find it in the resources that you have. So overall, what courses are required for your degree? First and foremost, really stressing the importance of the first year degree guide. It's kind of just what you want to focus on this year. But if you want to look on further down the road, like what other courses are you going to take in your degree? You're more than welcome to look at the full degree list of required courses. And we have a list of those on the Kinesiology website that has different lists of courses required for each different major. So again, those are on the Kinesiology website. And then of course, the academic calendar is kind of the where all of the information originates from. It's a great reference tool for students. The fall and winter schedule is always available every year on March 8th to plan for the following year. And you can browse course descriptions through the academic calendar to see what you can expect to take maybe in your third and fourth year, if you want to think a little bit further down the road. Okay, so how to register. So there are some resources available on the registrar's website with videos and step-by-step guides. So this is just a screenshot of where to find that on the registrar's website. It's a really helpful tool to get started. And yeah, this is again on the registrar's website showing you how to find the how-to guides. The place to register when it comes to actually adding courses into your schedule, it's all done through your student center. And you can access your student center through my.ucalgary.ca. You've probably been visiting this already to monitor your application and stuff like that. That's what we refer to as the student center. And the student center is kind of like your one-stop shop for everything related to your undergraduate record. Your application to the university's in there. Your registration happens in there, your enrollment verification, AKA your proof of enrollment, if you need that for RESPs or scholarships, you can generate that automated letter in the student center. You'll find your grades in your student center, your personal information, tax receipts, tuition, fees, and information on how to pay. That's all in one spot. So on the home tab here, you'll find access to course registration. The enrollment appointment date here is highlighted on the right-hand side, and links to the course search and schedule builder, which we'll go into. So the schedule builder, sometimes called VSB, is a really wonderful tool. It makes building your schedule super, super easy. This is what it looks like here on the right-hand side. It gives you your timetable from Monday to Friday. And when you plug in a class, it just populates in your schedule so you know where it is. And then you can keep plugging everything in, making sure it all fits together. And you press submit at the end and it'll put you in the courses if there's no issues. The great thing about VSB is you can start using this anytime. So even though you're not going to register until May 5th to 7th, you can start logging into Schedule Builder now to just get used to it. Start playing around with it, start looking up classes. You can look through different schedules and see what works for you. And it's just a good way to play around with the tool so you're not surprised by anything when it comes to registration. There's a lot of really helpful videos, again, on the registrar's website that just walk you through how to use this. The other tool here, so you'll see on the screenshot, there's these two red buttons. There's the schedule builder, which we were just talking about, and then there's this other button called the course search. Course search is what I refer to as the old system, the old way of looking up classes, just because schedule builder is kind of new still. But course search is just another way to look for classes, and you can register using course search as well. So basically we've got two ways to do it. just pick whichever one feels right to you. The course search is really helpful if you want to drop, edit, or swap. We recommend using the course search if you're going to be doing one of those functions. When it comes to just adding and building your schedule, that's where Schedule Builder is the best thing to use, basically. And again, more videos and how-to guides on how to use that course search function. And this one's available to you now as well. All of this is opened back on March 8th. So leading up to the drop deadline, you can go in and make as many changes as you want. So this is a new feature this year that we have. It's called Validate Shopping Cart. So much like online shopping, we have what we call a shopping cart where you put in all the courses that you want to take. So this is what you're going to be doing in preparation for registration. You put everything in your shopping cart. You press this Validate Enrollment Course Cart button, and it'll pre-check everything so that there's no surprises on registration day. It'll pre-check for prerequisites and time conflicts or departmental consent, anti-requisites, that kind of stuff. It doesn't actually put you in the class, but it just helps prepare you so that you can fix issues before registration day comes along. And so, yeah, when it comes to actually enrolling in classes, there's this big red button that says get this schedule. And it's honestly as easy as that. You press get the schedule and it'll tell you whether it was a success for the course or whether there was an error that needs to be fixed. So if you experience any issues trying to register in a class, or if you're still unsure what to take, despite looking through the first year degree guide, and you're not really sure how to use the system, Enrollment Services is available for help. Actually, first I'm going to chat a little bit about this new student registration assistance, which we refer to as the NSRA. And so they're available for one-on-one help. It's a bunch of student staff. So just like you, they're familiar with the system and they can offer really good insight on how to choose classes and build a schedule. They'll help you learn the ins and outs of Schedule Builder and the Search for Classes tool. They start working in May and they can offer that one-on-one help if you need it. And then if you're still having issues related to errors, for example, like prerequisite errors and you're not quite sure what's going on, that's where you can reach out to Enrollment Services. And their phone number is just down here in the bottom right at 403-210-7625. And they also offer Zoom reception on their website. So you can check in with them for some quick help as well. And last but not least, you can contact us, the advisors. So it's myself, Erin Scott, Megan McSween, and Jody McGill. You can reach us Monday to Friday through email at info@ucalgary.ca. When it comes to like questions specifically about your Kines courses or your kinesiology schedule, that's where we can really help. If it's some of those like minor troubleshooting issues like prerequisites or time conflicts, that's where the NSRA and the Enrollment Services Office can really provide quick help. And then stuff that's really specific to kinesiology, definitely reach out to us. And that's the gist of it. That covers most of the basics. If you have any questions, feel free to enter them in the chat box here. And I'll do my best to answer them.
Erin, there was a question earlier about how many courses are recommended per term.
Oh, okay. It's really up to you to decide what your capacity is. Like I said, the typical amount I would say is between 3 and 5, just because the minimum of full-time is considered 3 courses per term. And I would say, yeah, most of our students take between 3 and 5. Like I say, if you're not sure right now what you want, then register for 5 and drop a course closer to the start of term once you've really decided. Things to consider are you working? Are you volunteering? Do you have extra commitments that are going to take away from your time? Because 5 courses per term is quite a lot. And a good exercise is to look through all of your course syllabi once you get those, and put in all of your midterms, all of your assignment dates and deadlines, and really see what your schedule looks like over the 4 months, and if you can handle that with 5. And if not, maybe look at reducing your course load.
Next question is, someone's planning on taking 259 in fall and 260 in winter, which is great because you need those in first year. But their shopping cart wouldn't validate Kinesiology 260, saying that she didn't have, or they didn't have the prerequisite, and just wondering what that problem might be.
So actually, this has come up a couple times, I think, and it's just a limitation of the new validate system. It is still new, so they're working out some of those issues. I don't think the validate button recognizes that you have 259 in your fall shopping cart. So it thinks that you don't have the prerequisite for 260 in your winter term. And that's just a limitation of that validation tool. But when it comes to actually registering, it will let you enroll in 260 as long as you have already registered in 259 in the fall.
Next question would be, when would they know what's offered in spring term?
Ooh, good question. Spring term schedule is usually published early February. And then registration for spring term is mid-February.
And I'll just say there is very little offered in kinesiology in spring and nothing in summer. So our students typically would be taking options or 1 or 2 maybe Kines courses in spring. In exercise and health physiology, and I'm not really clear on this question, first year degree guides suggest Kines 263, but it's not in their list. So I'm not 100% clear. If the person that asked that would like to just clarify a little bit in the chat, I'm happy to revisit. Can you explain how the credits work? Because on the first year degree guide, it says something about having a specific amount within the major and a specific amount within other options, etc.
Okay. So that's something I didn't quite talk about. Courses are referred to either by their credits. So usually a course is worth 3 credits. Rarely you'll hear it referred to as a half course equivalent, or you'll just hear it referred to as a course. So 3 credit course times 5 is normally 15 units per term is what we say. Or if you're only taking 4 courses, that would be 12 units, etc. Overall in the degree, there are limits on how many non-Kines courses, so options, you're allowed to take. But it's not really a concern for your first year. That information is provided in the academic calendar and is also provided on the program planner sheets that we have on our kinesiology website. And it looks like Jody provided a link to those PDFs in the chat. So you can check those out, the program requirements. There's a little more, you can see a breakdown of what the different options, the space.
Italian studies and open.
Yes, I looked at it. Yes, it is.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
Cassidy,
But you have
continue, please.
Next question.
Okay, so where would we be able to see what non-kinesiology specific English, math, science, etc. courses we will need to take in first year?
So there's no required options for your first year. We encourage you to take options in your first year just to get some breadth and try out different topics outside of the realm of Kines. In the first year degree guide, there's a link. If we look, actually, I can go back a few slides here to my screenshot. So see how in the first year degree guide, there's these red hyperlinks. If you click that open option, it'll take you to a page that shows you different options to take. And so it'll have like a full list of different 200 level introductory courses that you are welcome to pursue.
And how do they go about enrolling in spring courses, and which courses are best to save for spring?
So we covered that. You can enroll in spring classes in February of each year. The best courses to take in spring are open options, because there's way more open options than there are kinesiology courses.
A few more questions about options. So I'll let everybody know that if you do look at the PDF planners, and I'll add the link towards the end of today's session again for everyone. You'll see exactly what kind of courses you're going to require throughout your degree and how many options you can take. And those are things that the advisors are available for throughout your degree to check in and discuss, you know, how many have I taken, how many do I still have room for, what kind do they need to be, all that kind of stuff. If you're looking to apply to the honors program, how many courses are recommended, and are certain courses required to apply?
Very good question. So our honors program is a program for fourth year students. So you apply when you're in your third year, right before you move into your fourth year. Students have to have 90 units completed. So that's 30 courses, which would put you at third year status. You need to have statistics done with a C- or higher, and you need to have a strong GPA, both overall and over your kinesiology coursework.
If a course interferes, so that's what we would call a time conflict, with another course in both semesters, what do you do? Example, Kines 203 interferes with a math course in fall semester, and in the winter semester it interferes with another course, and I've tried changing the times of the courses.
Okay, so 203 only has one lecture in fall and one lecture in winter, but math normally has a number of different lectures to choose from. So between like 3 and 4 different lectures, and a huge variety of labs to choose from as well. So see if you can move your math lecture to a different time. If it's still not working, check in with us or check in with an SRA, and we can take a closer look.
Some questions about recommended courses for BSc in first year. So those types of questions, all of the recommended courses in your first year for fall and winter, don't forget you're registering for both terms at once. They're all listed in the degree guide. So that's your baby, that's your Bible, that's what you want to follow. And if anything looks a little wonky, please reach out to the NSRAs or the advisors, and we'll be able to help you more. So Kines 263 is a required course in first year. Depending on the program, sometimes it'll fit, sometimes it won't. Again, Paige, I'll have a look at that link that you sent and see if maybe there's a typo or something. It is required for all Kines degrees, but we'll just, have to look and see where it's showing up funny. So Erin, they're in biomechanics and they were trying to generate a schedule on their UCalgary account using first year degree guide, but there was a conflict between Kines 203 in both fall and winter. Should I take a different course or should I contact the NSRAs?
Get in touch with us. If you can send us an email with your name and student ID, we'll take a closer look. Biomechanics is a really unique and special program, and it's kind of like Tetris, making all the courses fit together. So check in with us, and we'll work to see what kind of solution we have for that.
Question about AP courses. It sounds like they got great marks. So this would be applicable to AP and possibly IB courses. How can I indicate I wish to take credit for and skip the university level courses for AP and IB courses?
Admissions, as long as they've received your AP or IB transcript and you've scored 5 or higher on those courses, admissions should automatically post that university credit to your account. And you can check that on your Student Center in your transfer credit report. If those credits aren't showing, then give admissions a phone call and see if they can update that for you.
Great. Schedule builder. So after selecting a course, a list of classes that have lab lecture components comes up, and by default, all are selected. Do I just have to pick one of those class options, the one I am recommended to take in first year, question mark?
Yes, yeah. So Schedule Builder will, basically it's generating like all the different possibilities of a schedule for you. So if there's a variety of lectures to choose from, it'll tick all of them off. But if say there's a time of day that you don't want, then you can untick that option. It's just trying to provide the most options for a schedule. So feel free to untick whichever ones you're not interested in.
How and when and can we declare, and how do we declare a minor?
Ooh, when is October 1st. That's when the change of program application opens every year. You can find that again in your Student Center in the admissions or the program information tab. And it doesn't cost anything to apply for a minor. Sorry, what was the first part of the question?
Yeah, it was just how do they declare a minor? So
Okay.
I think you answered it. It's just we need to make sure that you have enough option space to fit the courses required for a minor. So
Yeah, a minor is usually 10 courses. So it's a nice way to use up options if you have the space. But if you don't have enough options, then you'll want to check in with us to see what that means.
Oh, you're gonna love this one. What's the best and uncommon question received relating to courses? And then what was the answer to it?
Oh my gosh.
You can only pick one.
I can't think on the spot. I'll have to think about that one. Oh, I had a question recently from a third-year student who was wondering if it's advisable for him to take classes with his girlfriend. And I didn't have an answer for that. There's some things academic advising cannot advise on.
We have limitations. Do you have to take statistics? That's a quick answer. Yes, you do. And yes, it is a requirement for honors, but all students in kinesiology have to take a junior stats course. When do courses have to be picked by?
Strongly recommended to, well, pick and play around with your courses before registration. And then make sure you actually register. It's recommended to do it sooner rather than later because courses do fill up. Seats do fill. So it's just better if you can register in that first week when things first open up.
Student says they've heard that for full participation in Kines, they thought you needed a doctor's note. And so how would we go about getting one or submitting it? And I'm wondering if this is maybe about the PARQ instead of,
so for the courses that require full activity, if there is something from preventing you from participating fully, definitely check in with our office and or your instructor to navigate that process.
And there are some courses that are activity-based courses that require, it's called a PARQ, so it's a participation. So if you have identified medical or health issues that prevent you from doing like a beep test or some of the components of the course, you will be required to fill that out. And if there are issues, the instructor, their exercise physiologist will let you know if you need a medical note or not. If you've got chronic situations, so we did have a student who had been paralyzed and came back and hadn't fully recovered and wasn't going to. It was an ongoing issue. Those are the types of things that you need to speak to the advisors about. but the expectation is for everybody, if you've got a sniffle, you still have to participate in classes. Kines 201 is a first year activity class. And if you have 2 unexcused absences, you fail the course. So it's not about being punitive, it's about engaging you and getting you moving. So yeah. So spring courses will be, that schedule is launched in January each year and registration happens in February. The minimum admission average, so you'd need to check with admissions. I believe they've updated it on the admissions webpage, but all applications, all admission is processed by the admissions team. The advisors have nothing to do with it. So we can offer information on the program, registration, all that good stuff. But as far as admission averages or your particular situation with your offer, that can be a very personal thing. So it's always best to contact them. If I require specific courses for grad school, for example, med school, would I take those courses as an open option?
Yes, that's exactly what the open options are for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just add to that a lot of students are planning on grad school and they can have like med school at Cumming versus UBC versus back east versus the States can have completely different requirements, assess GPA completely differently. So it is the responsibility of the student. We can't possibly know all that. We advise on our undergrad programs, but not external ones. It's up to you guys to find out what their requirements are and see how you can fit them in. We often see Kines students wanting to take the chems and the biochems and organic chems to prepare for med school or things like that, but they're not required in the degree and they'll have restrictions on them. So there's no guarantee that you'll be able to get into them right away. But once those restrictions come down, if there's seats available and it fits with your schedule and all that good stuff, then you could look at doing that. But the priority for us and for you is your undergraduate degree. And then anything else that you're planning on doing, it's fitting that in around those required courses you need to take. When should people in the biomechanics program expect an email from the engineer and math advisors on how to enroll in courses?
Well, Jody, when are we expecting to send our email to our incoming
it'll be coming out next week. We've just cleaned up the end of the continuing student biomechanic registration. So we'll be sending the list. We are still waiting for some students to accept their offers. So until they've committed, we don't want to send a list of or emails out. It has to be to students who have paid the deposit and committed to attending in fall. So I would say in the next week, you should get that email. Do you need to take an English course as a first year course, Erin?
No, you don't have to take English, but I would strongly encourage it. If you enjoy English, go for it. It's a really good way to get writing practice. You will be writing reports in kinesiology, so having a strong foundation in how to write will be very useful. But it's not required.
Yeah. And again, so there's another question about being in biomechanics or any other major, I suppose, and hoping to apply for med school. We don't advise on external programs. Students, that's your responsibility to find out what those requirements are and how they may or may not fit within your degree. That being said, we do offer information sessions each year from the Cumming School of Medicine, U of A's physiotherapy, U of A's occupational therapy, and they come in or they present via Zoom to the students and explain the process of applying and the criteria that they have. So you can look forward to that in the fall, and that often demystifies things. How many options are recommended to be taken in each semester?
It depends on your major. And it depends on what you want, how many courses you want per term. Follow the degree guide to your best ability. When it says on the degree guide, for example, like Kines 251 or open option, take a look at Kines 251, read through it. If you really want to get it done in first year, great. But if you'd rather take an option in first year, then take an option, and you can take 251 in your second year. There's nothing wrong with that.
How do the activity courses work with online school?
Good question. Our instructors have been really creative. They've had to be really creative to implement that and bring it back into the courses. So yeah, normally on campus, students are playing different sports. So half the semester is spent playing soccer, for example, and the other half of the semester is lacrosse or swimming or speed skating, all kinds of stuff. And there wasn't a way to do that online. So implementing more stuff that can be done from home, and some activities are a little bit more reflective. The key with Kines 201, for example, is it's about physical literacy and what that means for you and for society. And it's about gaining empathy for others, like learning sports for the first time or learning how to move, whatever that means. So there's other ways to meet that objective through different types of activities than traditional sports.
Would a student be able to participate with athletic therapy of the varsity teams at the U of C in any sections of Kines?
Athletic therapy is a what's the word? It's like a registered process. You cannot work as an athletic therapist if you're not registered. Regulated is the term I was looking for. There might be there's plenty of opportunities to be involved on campus through volunteering, but you'd want to check with the dynos specifically, reach out to a particular coach or team to see what opportunities there are to get involved as a volunteer.
And I'll just, a number of years ago, we did offer athletic therapy as a major in kinesiology. It is no longer part of the curriculum at the University of Calgary's kinesiology faculty, but Mount Royal University does have an after degree certificate, advanced certificate, and you could check with them if that's something you're interested in pursuing. We have a number of practicums that count as senior kines courses in a ton of different environments, from Shell Oil to Calgary Flames to Dinos Athletes to sports medicine. So you might end up doing one of those in your third or fourth year. You can take up to 3. And what you might find is that you may not be athletic therapy, but you might be a physiotherapy assistant or an athletic therapy assistant. And the intent of those is for students to get kind of a fly on the wall experience of what it's like to be the therapist, not just the client, very different things. So there are opportunities. They have been on hold for the last year due to COVID. Practicums weren't able to run. But we have a good response for this coming year on quite a few that may run for fall and winter. So by the time you've finished your second year, so you've got a lot of course content behind you so that you can have a really meaningful practicum experience in the community. You'll be able to register for those. I think we'll probably see a full complement by that time. I gave you a couple of examples, but the Canadian Sport Institute working with national athletes, the Nordic Center, we're trying to set one up with Garmin out in Cochrane. So there's some absolutely fantastic opportunities that might be of interest to you. So Erin, what happens when they have to validate courses and they try to enroll and one of the courses is already full? Will the program reject my whole schedule and will I have to start over?
That's a really good question. No, the system will put you in whatever it can. So one course won't block it. It'll just give you an error message for that one course saying course is full. And in that instance, see if you can find a different lecturer for that course that still has space. And if that's not possible, go to plan B and find another course to take.
Are options mandatory for mind sciences? There aren't really any options in the degree guide.
Yes, the first year in mind science is a little more structured. There's a lot of first year Kines courses that we really want you to take so that you're prepared to progress in second year.
Is it possible to switch your major within kinesiology? What is the process and difficulty around that?
Yes, it's possible. So you will be able to apply to change your major for your second year. So you can't change it just yet. The application, similar to the minor question, will open on October 1st in your student center. It's called a change of program, and it's quite easy. And again, it doesn't cost any money. So it's not like applying to the university. It's pretty straightforward. You submit the application. As you're already a kinesiology student, you got through the hard part, you're in the faculty, so switching majors, there's not really any additional GPA requirements or anything like that to switch your major. If you want to switch to biomechanics or into exercise and health physiology, we do just make sure that you have the calculus and the appropriate pre-calc grade. But strong emphasis on it's not GPA based, so you can kind of switch whenever or to whatever program you want. It's best if you make that choice early, because switching late in your degree will extend the length of your degree.
The only thing I would mention is if you're thinking of going into a combined degree, that's a little bit different. So if you've been accepted to kinesiology and now you're interested in doing a BCom from business with kines, or BA dance with kines, or Bachelor of Education with kines, that it's the same change of program request through your student center, but then you would need to meet the requirements for that other faculty. So that would be the only case where it might be a little bit more intensive. And you can talk to us about what you're planning or what you're thinking in September. Let the dust settle. Think about what you're, just experiencing in that month. And then towards the end of September, get in touch with us and we can talk through and explain the process and what kind of things you'll need to, what steps you might need to take, depending on what change you're thinking of. Is there enough seats for all kines students to enroll in the required first year courses?
For the key courses that we recommend, 201, 203, 259, 260, those have about 300 seats, so more than enough room in those. Most of our courses will have enough room for you. Some of the ones that are, let me say that there's more 200s on our list of required courses than is possible to take in your first year. So there are courses that are more designed to take in second year, depending on your major. So that's what the first year degree guide is helpful for. So maybe an example is Kines 263, biomechanics, really important for first year biomechanics students to take, but maybe not so important for a different major. So if somebody can't get into it in their first year, if they're not biomechanics, not a big deal. That can be taken in second year.
How does getting all my coursework done if I'm in a combined degree with commerce?
Oh, yes. So a combined degree is 150 units. So normally a degree is 120, a four-year degree is 120 units, and a combined degree is 150. So it's a 5-year program instead of a 4-year program. So it just takes a little bit longer, that's all. You'll probably take 5 courses per term if you want to finish on that timeline. If you want to extend it to 6 years, then you could take fewer courses per term, but you'll want to consult with us and the Haskane advisors if that's the case. But your first year degree guide will, there is a first year degree guide for the combined Haskane plus Beacon program that will tell you recommended Haskane courses and recommended kinesiology courses.
Will we be sending out this recorded Zoom so we can go over the slides again?
Sure, yes, this is being recorded. It'll be, we'll be given the link afterwards through the registrar's office, and it'll be communicated out to you.
Combined degree, can I major in something other than just kinesiology? I'll answer that no. Basically, the way it works is the Bachelor of Kinesiology is the only major that has enough option room for all the courses from, say, BCom or dance or education, fill those requirements. So basically it's Kines and your other program. There's no room for, options and things like that. And so if we were to add a major in exercise physiology or mind sciences, it reduces the number of free-flowing options you have so that your other courses from the other faculty wouldn't fit in your degree. Just wondering how hard Kines courses are in general.
It's subjective, depending on what type of coursework you excel in, and what your study style is. Some courses have more of a reputation for being hard than others do. Yeah, so it really varies. That's all I can really say.
I'll give an example of that. We have like an intro biomechanics course that some students find really, really challenging and other students find it's a breeze. And then we have sociocultural courses where they talk about, gender and sex in sport and, how women are portrayed on the cover of Sports Illustrated versus men or diversity in sport, things like that. And one student will say, oh, I love biomechanics, was fantastic, so interesting, it really piqued my interest, but really don't enjoy the socio part. And the flip will be true of the next person walking through the door. So stay true to yourself, respect what you are interested in, and you'll do really well. And your first year courses are breadth courses. So you're going to get exposed to lots of different things in Kines. And from there, we often see students kind of pick a more specific path or areas that they're really interested in. Can you get a Bachelor of Science majoring in kinesiology, Erin?
Yes. And that wasn't something we really talked about in this session. But yeah, we have two different degrees in the faculty. There's the Bachelor of Science and the Bachelor of Kinesiology. And within both of those streams, we have the different majors. So you've asked Bachelor of Science with a major in kinesiology. Yes, that is one of the options. It could also be the Bachelor of Kinesiology with a major in kinesiology. Again, you can see a breakdown of the different degree streams and different majors available in each degree stream by clicking on the program planner, program requirement link that Jody provided in the chat.
There it is again. So will I be able to transfer into nursing using kinesiology? We can't speak to other programs. We strongly encourage you, if you're thinking of applying to grad schools or other programs, contact them and find out what exactly is required. If they talk about GPA, ask them how GPA is calculated. Get really specific, detailed information so you can set yourself up for the higher likelihood of success. Can we take more than 5 classes? No, in kinesiology, primarily due to all the labs that you have to take, maximum of 5 courses per fall and winter term is permitted. That's it. How heavy is the coursework generally? Erin, you kind of went over that already, eh?
Yeah, and it varies from course to course. And like Jody said, depending on labs, that'll add to the weight as well.
And it depends. So Erin had mentioned earlier, read your course outline, because if you're taking an English course and it's 5 novels in or 6 novels in a term and you don't enjoy reading, or if it's a course that has a lot of group projects or presentations and that's not your jam, really think about that. But a lot of Kines courses, particularly your first year courses, you're going to have to take them. So be kind to yourself. We're here to chat. But coursework, again, it can differ year to year, term to term, person to person. So hard to put a finger on that one. I'm in mind sciences degree and I can't tell if there is a safe spot for us in Psych 200 and 201. Is it the MDSC restriction or is that another major?
Yes, MNSC is our short form code for mind sciences. So yes, you should not have any issues getting into Psych 200 and 201.
Will there be any occasions where we can talk to senior Kines students in order to ask them about our experiences? So I can answer this one. You should have or will be soon receiving an invitation to an event on Saturday, April 17th. And it's going to be run by, I'll be there. It's from 9 to 10 a.m. that morning. Again, it'll be recorded, but it's 2 senior Kines students, and they'll talk about their perspectives. So it's their experience, what they do as a University of Calgary student. One's a varsity athlete, one's heavily involved in leadership programs and community engagement. So if you haven't checked your UCalgary email recently, make sure you do. That you should have an invitation to that. It'll be a Zoom meeting with a link, and you can just log on with your morning coffee or tea and join us for, it's just a quick 1 hour, but it's completely the student perspective. For those who wish to take pre-med, is that outside the Kines semester, or do we take those classes as options?
Those are options. Pre-med typically just refers to the fact that somebody is planning to go to medicine one day and what courses do they need to take for that. So like Jody mentioned earlier, we don't advise on medicine. We are not medical school advisors. Go straight to the source, go to the school's websites that you plan to apply to, look for a list of required courses and go from there. Build those into your options in kinesiology.
I think that was the last question, but we're happy to take more questions. If you feel like you've missed anything, I know some people weren't able to join until a little bit later. This has been recorded and we'll be sending it over to the registrar's office. Enrollment Services should be sending it out. And we'll also have a copy of it if you wanted it. Check your email for April 17th for an invitation to that session. Any questions? I guess a couple of things. Make sure you've set up your @UCalgary email address. All offices on campus are mandated to use that email address only when communicating with students. And if you do reach out to an office, it's really handy to include your UCID number with it, just so that we can quickly check your record and give you the most specific and accurate information possible. And you'll see on this slide our email address. So if you email Kines advisors, we have an auto reply that gives a lot of links and information, but we reply well within 3 business days. So you can always follow up with any questions if you've missed anything or you're unsure, or something comes to mind later on. We're happy to answer those. So yeah, so if anybody here hasn't paid the deposit and accepted their offer, so to fully accept your offer, you go and you accept, and then you pay your deposit. And it sometimes takes 24 hours or whatever for that to update. And that's what's going to populate your enrollment appointment. And then you'll be able to go in and you'll get instructions on setting up your EID, which sounds weird, but it's an electronic ID that's unique to you, and your email address and all that good stuff. So the sooner you can get that done, the sooner you're going to get information on registration. There's some perks with next Saturday's event. They have a QR code for some scholarships, and they also have anybody who attends that day will get an early registration appointment. So it just means that you get to register earlier, which can be beneficial if you're wanting to take courses that are super popular, or you want courses at a certain time, that kind of thing. Next question. Can we still switch major in kinesiology faculty, like going from biomechanics to kines?
Yes, you can switch. You just can't switch for your first year. You would have applied into a stream, so that's your first year stream, and you can apply to change for your second year. Like I described earlier, it's a change of program application in your student center. If you know 100% that you do not want to follow the major that you're in this year, you don't have to follow the first year degree guide for that major. You can follow the first year degree guide for a different major and then make the official switch for your second year. Just keep in mind that if you're not in that major yet, you might not have access to some of those restricted classes. But yeah, that's the gist. Second year switch.
Yeah, and again, check with us in September. Just let the dust settle on this year. You guys are, it's a lot. It's coming into university for the first time is busy. You've already been through a lot with COVID over the past, year and a bit. And we're here to help. So honestly, don't wait, don't, fret alone. Email us. We'll get in touch with you right away. We're happy to help, and it benefits everybody if we can address any concerns or issues early on rather than trying to fix things later on. So you're not in trouble if you contact us. We're not the principal's office, or we're your advisors, and we're here to support you. And we love our students. We're really proud of our students and want to support their success. So let us do that by asking questions. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay, so I guess we're all done with questions then. So once again, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for bringing so many good questions. I hope this was useful, and if you're still unsure, again, cannot stress enough the importance of watching some of these tutorial videos on the website. They're really helpful, and just playing around with it. It is easy to use, but it just takes a little bit of practice. So thanks for joining us. Welcome to the faculty. We're so glad to have you here, and enjoy the rest of your Friday and have a wonderful weekend.